Donald Trump has reportedly warned his Turkish counterpart to avoid actions that risk a clash between American and Turkish forces in northern Syria. It follows President Erdogan's announcement that the Turkish military will extend its operation against the US-backed Kurdish militia in the region and set its sights on the city of Manbij.
The operation we've launched, named Olive Branch, to cleanse Afrin of terrorists, is successfully underway. Starting from Manbij, we will continue foiling the games which are being played along our borders, and we will cleanse our region completely of this trouble.
With tensions growing between the two NATO allies, Turkey's foreign ministry hit out at the US on Thursday, saying Washington hasn't kept a single promise on the Kurds and that there's no trust between the countries. Well, let's take a closer look at what's happening in the region. This is the border between Turkey and Syria, and the areas in yellow that you can see here are held by the various Kurdish militia. In the west, you can see Afrin region, and that's where the Turkish assault began. And to the east of this bit in green there, is where the number of Turkish-backed rebel groups are. They are involved in the push towards Manbij. Now, here's a recap of how the operation has unfolded so far.
They are firing at us with tanks and warplanes. We did nothing to hurt them. We are protecting our land and they're bombing us.
We have to sleep here in the cellar because of the bombs. We are afraid to go out on the streets. What do they want from us? We are in our own land. They should stay in theirs.
No matter how many planes and missiles they send, this is our land and we will not leave it and do what Erdogan wants.
In retaliation for the operation, several missiles were fired from Afrin over the border into Turkey on Wednesday, killing 2 people in the town of Kilis and injuring a dozen more. A mosque and a residential building were damaged in the incident. Paula Slier has more on Ankara's incursion into Syria.
What we're hearing from the Turkish president is that he will now extend his military operation in northern Syria to include the town of Manbij. Now, once the Turkish military moves into Manbij, this could potentially put the Turkish army in direct conflict with forces belonging to a major Turkish NATO ally, namely the United States. Washington is known to have some 2,000 special forces on the ground in Syria, and while none of them are thought to be in the Afrin area, they are deployed amongst various Kurdish enclaves that include the town of Manbij. Now, Manbij is controlled by US-backed Kurdish Syrian fighters. At the same time, we are hearing from the Turkish president that more than 250 Syrian Kurds, as well as Islamic State fighters, have been killed by the Turkish army and allied forces in the past few days. These figures are being disputed by the Kurdish side, who's also accusing Ankara of civilian casualties. This despite the fact that we are hearing from Turkey that they are trying to avoid civilian deaths as far as possible. Now, the American President Donald Trump has called for and is urging a de-escalation and a limit in the military operation that Ankara is conducting in northern Syria. It is now the 6th day since the Turkish military moved across the border, and no doubt in the coming hours and days the situation on the ground will only intensify.
International relations professor Hussein Bakci told us Turkey and the US are on a collision course in Syria.
The talk between two presidents at the moment is not friendly, and Americans made certain, I would say, threat in political terms that Turkey should not extend the military operation. We have regional conflict on the one hand, but also an alliance conflict between 2 NATO countries. The American side was insisting on it that Turkey is not going to extend the operation. So this is somehow a warning by the Americans to the Turkish president. The confrontation between Turkey and the United States of America is getting more and more likely.
The conflict has already elicited a strong reaction in Europe, where a number of countries have large Turkish and Kurdish communities, and a number of demonstrations have been turning violent.